Okay, so it looks like we have a little bit of a delay on the Facebook Live. Bear with me as I check out a couple tech things that we can maybe make that a little bit better. Bear with me. Hello, hello, and welcome. I had this idea really quickly this morning since I'm doing implementation week in my mentorship group where we don't have any group meetings once a month to do something different and to just share a little bit with the public what I teach when it comes to genuine connections horse womanship, and specifically the idea that we want to increase our and our horse's confidence and the connection that we have with our horse. I call it interconnection because so many people talk about connection, but it's being manipulated into there are restrictions of resources. Horses are dominated into connection. So when I talk about interconnection, we talk about the horse happily and willingly follow us and our suggestions because we, the human, show up as the lead mare, in contrary to most trainers, instructors, and online programs that still teach pressure control and dominant training techniques. For example, make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult is a very popular training technique, and it is rooted in control and dominance. And from my perspective, I want my horse to happily and willingly follow me and my suggestions. And that's what horses do in the natural herd. The lead mare does not round up the herd. The lead mare does not drive the herd forward. She was chosen because of her wisdom, her experience, and her willingness to make benevolent decisions for the herd. And even the dominant stallion supports the lead mare. After all, no horse follows the dominant stallion, whose job is procreation and protection. He does not make the decisions for the herd. And that's why you will have always a limited amount of connection if you use pressure control or dominance based training techniques. And if you've been with me for a while, you know I do not like treat-based training. And we can talk a little bit later about why that is, but there are several pitfalls in positive reinforcement and treat-based training techniques. In my world anyway, you might not disagree with me, and that's totally okay, but I come from the perspective that I do not want to create a connection with something else, whether it's a treat or a whip or whatever it is, or a flag. I want my horse to connect with me happily and willingly. So let me check a couple more tech things here. And what I would like to achieve today is that I give you the 5 areas of confidence and comfort, which apply to you, the human, as well as for the horse. And the background story, why those 5 areas are so important, and what difference these 5 areas can make for you and your horse if you're looking to feel safe, empowered, and confident together with your horse. If you have not met me yet, my name is Petra Christensen. I am the creator and founder of Genuine Connections Horse Womanship, and my passion is to help female horse lovers to interconnect with the horse, let go of pressure control and treat-based training techniques, use lead mare principles, female leadership principles, and the idea that love, peace, understanding can create a safe and empowered and confident relationship with our horse. Have a look. Give me a moment here. I'm still looking for. This is, by the way, the first time that I'm trying this to go live public through Zoom. And if you are watching me through Zoom, hang on for a second. If you're watching me, say hi, let me know where you're from. Facebook will then spread it out to more people, and that would be awesome. This is a free service of mine. If you are interested in doing more than today, I have 4 more webinars planned that will be a series building on what we're talking today. And the entire series is $97, yes. And you even get a one-on-one coaching session with me. So super affordable. And I do need 10 people in order to make that work. All my mentorship students, if you are currently in my mentorship program, everything that I do, as long as you are a member in my mentorship, is totally free, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a 90-day set and achieve your goal session, whether it's one of these seminars, whether I create a new course. If you are in my mentorship, that's totally free. And that's one of the bonuses if you commit to a 10-week program, or I have now some students that have been with me in the 3rd year. Norton Shores, Michigan, home of Miss Merlot. Hi, Miss Jean. Hi, Pam. Hello, Jessica. Hi, BJ. Colette is here. Hello, hello. Awesome. Wonderful. That makes me happy. So it looks like this is working. So let me hop on back to my Zoom here. And I will make an attempt to share my screen. And I hope this will work. Like I always say, it's one of these things where you just have to be brave and figure something out. I did do it on my own today, but it's just different when you go online. So let's give this a try, and let me know whether you can see my screen. And it says the 5 areas of comfort and confidence for horse and human. Could somebody pop in the comment section? I see Barbara is here and has already posted in the comment section whether you can actually see my my whiteboard. It says the 5 areas of confidence for horse and human. And then there are 5 turquoise circles and 2 pink ones. If you can see those, please let me know. Barbara says yes. Awesome. Okay, that makes me happy. So let's have a look at those 5 areas of comfort and confidence for horse and human. But before I tell you what those 5 areas are, let me talk about why it's important that you know those 5 areas and how you can work with them so that you and your horse always have a good experience. When it comes to learning, and all the students that come to me in my mentorship, they want to grow and prosper with their horse. They want to solve problems. They want to have a deeper connection and help their horse be more confident and gain more confidence themselves. That's by large the majority of students that I have. And so that means that we need to be in a learning frame of mind, we the human as well as our horse. And when it comes to horsewomanship, it's a little bit different than when we, the human, just learn something on our own, because we actually have a live being that has a mind of his own and is a prey animal on top of everything else that we're learning together with. And we were talking over the weekend in my mentorship group meeting about Frédéric Pignot, the original star of Cavalia, I think from 2003 to 2009, with his wife Magali, one of my all-time favorite horse people. And the idea that we want to improve our horses' intelligence and that we're really helping our horse to grow and prosper as much as ourselves. And most trainers, instructors, and online program come from a perspective that the human is the one that controls the situation, and that the horse has to do what the human wants him or her to do, because otherwise the human is not safe. And from my perspective, this is, honest to goodness, total baloney, because horses are twice as fast as a human athlete. I'm not a human athlete. Maybe somebody is listening that is doing triathlon or has practiced for a really major competition. Way back when I had a student, she actually was way back when in the Olympic swim team. So then we're looking at the horse is twice as fast as the human. But most of us are older, and we're getting slower as we're getting older, and maybe we have some physical limitations. So that means that our horse is even faster than us in their reaction or responses. So control is just an illusion. It just doesn't happen. And again, like I said in the beginning, horses do understand dominant language because it does happen in the horse herd. And when we're using the stallion as the example, no horse follows the dominant stallion. His job is procreation and protection. And so therefore, we actually are using the strategies and the communication of an animal that is not really in charge of the herd and the decisions of the herd. That's the lead mare. And I think the what we female heart-centered horse lovers often struggle with, and I used to do that too, that we're being told we have to show who the horse who's boss, that we have to control, that we have to use pressure. And if you're like me, that always has not felt good to you. It just hasn't felt good. And there was always this, I wish I could do it differently, or I don't really like doing it. And that automatically means that your horse can feel that you don't believe in what you're doing. And therefore, you show up as incongruent. When we are incongruent, then we're missing clarity and we're missing consistency. And that vital part of giving our horse certainty as a major building block to help our horse feel confidence in our presence is missing. So what we're aiming for, and this is actually down here, is that our confidence zone and our horse's confidence zone should overlap, right? And in the beginning, it might just be a very thin sliver, right? That's all that our horse can say yes to right now with what we're asking. But the beauty is, the more you show up as the lead, and the more you take these 5 areas of comfort and confidence for your horse, but not only for your horse, but also for yourself in consideration, the more and more we can take these 2 circles and we can move them closer and closer together. And that means that our area of confidence can improve and grow bigger and bigger and bigger as we go through this process. So I'm just eliminating this little sliver here. And then we can basically look at that we have a huge bagel, and that's an egg or an apple or whatever it is, but you get the gist, right? We can grow and grow and grow our comfort and confidence zone. Why do we want to do that? We want to do that because when our confidence zone overlaps, we have a few things happening here. It means that when we feel confident, we feel safe. When we feel confident, we can feel empowered. And when we feel safe, empowered, and confident, right? Those are all kind of building blocks. Then we can grow and prosper together with our horse. And it is a wonderful, not only developing our horse, but developing ourselves and becoming our optimal best version of ourselves in the situation that we're in, because your situation will change over time. That can be that you have more time or less time, that you're more and more becoming the lead, that the environment changes, and so on. So we always look at in the moment that we want to show up as our personal optimal best. And we also know that we have this spiral of learning opportunity, and that we're layering experience after experience to create that solid foundation. I think what's really important to know is that when we have a solid foundation, that is something that is forever, and that we can grow from there. When students come to me, I also always say, you start out with a Swiss cheese foundation. There are holes in the foundation, and we're plugging each hole so that we have a solid foundation. So when we're asking for our horse to do something with us, that we have a very good chance that our horse will say yes to that. So let's talk about these 5 areas of confidence. Right now, you have a current herd structure with your horse. Your horse and you have a relationship, and your horse has formed a certain opinion of you. And that happens from the moment of approach, and it might not always be what we would like it to be, right? But the thing is, we can influence our horse's opinion of us, how we show up. So when we don't like how our interactions with our horse are currently, or whether we're like, you know what, me and my horse are getting along pretty well, but I would just like to have more connection, and I would like to do more things, and we're just being kind of limited still. Or you see that glass ceiling where you think, I know this is possible, but I have no clue how to get there. It is important to know that we as a human have to change our approach. And our approach really rests on the thoughts and the words and the actions that we use. And that is really a big part of my program, that you want to be conscientious of what you put in your head and your heart, and how you share that with your horse, so that your horse can see you as the lead. And like I said, right now, that might be more of a thin sliver, but as we go through the steps, those 2 areas of comfort and confidence zone come closer and closer together, and our opportunity to do more with our horse grows. Now, the next thing is what we need to know, that you have a personality and your horse has a personality. And 10 years ago, I resigned as a Pirelli instructor, but I was a very successful Pirelli instructor when I still was in the program. And one of my favorite things was horsonality, humanality. And that's why I actually became an inside inventory coach, certified by Dr. Patrick Handley, who was the co-founder with Linda Pirelli with Humanality. And Humanality is based on Patrick's teaching as a psychologist of inside inventory. And that was for me always such an amazing opportunity to learn more about ourselves, why we do the things that we do, and why we don't do the things that we don't do. And what is important that when it comes to change, so that we can facilitate change for ourselves and our horse. And horses have personalities. Some horses are more confident than horses are more confident than others. Some horses are more extroverted than others, or introverted. And I think the biggest thing that you need to keep in mind when it comes to personality is that in the herd, It does not matter what the horse's personality is. All horses follow the lead mare. I'm going to anthropomorphize just to make a point. Your horse in the herd will never say, I'm a left brain introvert. I feel lazy today. Nah, I'm not feeling it. I'm not motivated enough, right? We will hear people say that the horse is lazy. We will hear people say that they need to motivate their horse. And in the herd, that is something that just doesn't exist. These conversations the horse only has with us, the human. And the more you become the lead mare, the less your horse's personality will matter. But in the beginning, we need to keep it in mind. And we also need to be conscientious of how we deal with those traits that we are seeing in our horse. For example, I had a student in my mentorship group. Her horse was a cob, and he had years ago been pinned by a Pirelli instructor as a right brain introvert. And so his owner very diligently used all the right brain introvert strategies that back then were taught in Pirelli. And what had happened was that two things. First of all, just because your horse is a certain personality doesn't mean that your horse will always stay in this quadrant. The idea of giving your horse a personality is that we have a better understanding of what our horse's needs are. And our goal is to center our horse so that our horse, depending on what we're doing together, can be more introverted, can be more extroverted, and can be more confident, for example. And for a very confident horse, our horse can continue to be confident in us and doesn't feel the need to dominate us, right? And so in this case, what had happened was the horse was actually by nature a left brain introvert, but became unconfident on trail rides because his human did not show up as the lead. And so what happened was that because of these strategies that were being used, the horse was more and more reassured that he was the dominant one in the herd of two. And in the end, my student could not even go in the pasture and get her horse from the pasture and bring him to the stall. He just wouldn't go with her. There was nothing she could do. She was pulling, she was pushing, she was using her stick, she was doing as much energy with her stick to drive him forward. And he's like, I don't care. I'm just not going with you. And so that's where it's really important that we need to understand that we want our horse to become confident in us, and personality is important, but we also need to know that personality in the herd does not matter. And our personality is important, right? You might be by nature more dominant, and you might to remind yourself that your actions have to change in order for your dominant horse not to argue with you, right? Or if you're less confident, then we can work on your confidence and help you to show up as the lead. Now, the next zone is that in the herd, how is your horse currently interacting with the herd? And is your horse currently what some people call herd bound, buddy sour, buddy sweet? What does that mean? That means that the horse feels more safe and more comfortable with the herd than with us, the human. That's all it means. And sometimes when we're really heart-centered, that might be news that we don't want to hear, because we want our horse to like us, to love us, and we want our horse to do things together with us, right? And so it's important that we always use the three-letter word yet. My horse is not yet as confident with me as she is in the herd. And then we can work from there and help our horse to become more confident with us. And eventually it will not be a problem to leave the herd, right? We can work towards that. I have plenty of students where the horse was originally not wanting to leave the barn, not wanting to leave the paddock, and we can slowly grow the distance, and the horse can feel more and more confident with the human because how we show up. Horse or human can be damaged as a learner. I remember I had a friend of mine when I was in elementary school. If she had anything but an A plus, her parents put huge pressure on her, and it really caused her to be damaged as a learner, not to enjoy school, to be super anxious, and just a really sad experience instead of fostering learning as a wonder and as a miracle, and really helping a child to see their strength and grow in other areas. She was being punished if she didn't show up with an A plus. The same thing can happen with horses. Every horse that I have so far met, I can say very confidently, was in some area or another damaged as a learner because of the horse industry propensity to use pressure, to use control, to use dominance in various levels. And that can start as early as a few days in the horse's life, when mom gets pushed in the corner of the stall and the halter gets wrestled on the baby because somebody thinks that they can only do something with a baby when the halter is on them. And I am always super excited when I have students in the mentorship that actually have a mare and have a baby, and they're giving the baby first of all, they're giving mom and the baby to bond, and then they're giving the baby at liberty, free will, free choice, the freedom to choose them. And then haltering is something that is just yet another task that we can have a conversation about. And again, the amount of connection and confidence that can be achieved from coming from a perspective of free will and free choice is just absolutely marvelous. Now, the last one is the environment, right? So if you have a been there, done that trail horse, and your horse does not mind being out in the road, for example, but you had a really bad experience with another horse when a car came driving down the road, and the horse shied, and maybe even you fell off. And so now you have a confidence issue where your horse might have not a confidence issue, right? And it is absolutely vital for you to stay in the area where your and your horse's confidence zone overlap. So that might be that it's currently your comfort and confidence zone overlap at home, in the paddock, in the barn, in the arena, cruising around the property. And then we can work on growing your confidence by helping your horse see you as the lead to be confident in being able to handle a changing environment. The same thing could be that you've been there, done that, but you have a young horse and the horse is not confident in an indoor arena, for example. So then we don't just put the horse in the indoor arena and say, get over yourself. We help the horse every step of the way to be confident and comfortable with us in the environment, so it is a positive experience at all times. I just said this morning to some of my students that it's really important to think about it this way. And you have a friend and you feel always good in your friend's presence because she is fun and you're doing great things together and you're enjoying each other's company. And if you have an area of concern, your friend is willing to listen to you, to help you be seen, to help you to be understood. And next time you have a problem, you know you have somebody to go to that is willing to listen to you and see your side of the story and to help you through this crisis, right? And I would like to really encourage you to see the same thing as when your horse is not confident, that you always show up as the gatekeeper for your horse's confidence, and that you also show up for your own confidence. I'm gonna just actually close this here and stop sharing the screen here. Let me see whether I can do that. Where am I? To says start. Why does it say start? It shouldn't say start. Give me a moment and let me just look where I can change this, because leave meeting. I wonder whether in the live stream you can actually see my screen. We'll find out. This is an experiment, but it doesn't look like I can actually stop sharing. Give me a moment here. There we are. Now you should only see me and no more sharing the screen. And I'm just going to go really quick online and see whether I can find myself. Seems to still be working. Okay. Give me a moment. Look here. Yep. Okay, cool. So now that we have looked at those 5 areas of comfort and confidence for horse and human, I want to spend a little bit of time when it comes to the human's confidence, because a lot of times when students come into my mentorship program, by the way, there are 2, well, kind of 3. There are 3 options to study with me. I have started to do clinics again. I will be in Texas in March. I will be in the area of Scottsdale, probably beginning of April. I will be in Alabama at the end of April, and I will be in Oregon in July. And then you can also come here to my farm and do a retreat here. And then, of course, my mentorship coaching program. And whether you go to a clinic of mine or you come to a retreat, there will always be pre and post event support, because I have just seen it so many times that people go to a workshop or to a clinic and they're all excited, and then they go home, and because the knowledge is new and you just had a few days or a few hours to practice, it is not solidified in a way that you can start problem solving if problems arrive. And a lot of times what happens is, when we don't know what to do, we go back to what we've been doing, and then no change happens. And my passion is all about facilitating positive change and transformation for you and your horse. So whether you come to a clinic or you come here to Soulfire Farm and do a retreat with me, you will always receive pre and post event support to really make sure that this positive change and transformation is actually happening for you as well as for your horse. So when we're looking at the human's confidence level, our society is very much about performance, about high performance, about climbing the ladder, about constantly pushing forward. There is a very driving energy in our society. We have become human doings instead of human beings. And when it comes to being with the horse, it is really, really important that we stop the pushing and the prodding and the driving forward, especially when it comes to your confidence. I don't even know how many students I've had that came to me as a severely damaged learner, and they did not even know that they were in panic zone with their horse. I specifically remember a student. She came to me and she had a different, I could somehow could still remember the riding helmet, right? It was a very unique color and design that she had the previous year. And the next year she came and it was a different riding helmet. And as we were talking, came to one of the clinics, we were talking about the helmet, and she said, oh yeah, this is actually, and I'm not kidding, I'm not over exaggerating, this is my sixth helmet since last year. And like, what happened? So she had fallen off her horse 6 times, and she thought she was doing the right thing. She got herself a new helmet. And when we worked through what had actually happened, we came to the conclusion that she did not even know that she was in panic zone when she was just thinking about going to her horse's paddock. And so that is an extreme example, but I see it all the time in my students, that, the butterflies and the change in heart rate and the change in breathing and maybe even sweaty hands and thoughts of avoidance, that is just kind of earmarked as it's normal when you have a horse, because you're just not a horsewoman if you haven't fallen off yet, for example, right? And what happens with a human's brain when we consist, just like with a horse, but we're focusing on the human here right now, when we push consistently through thresholds, our brain is getting more and more alert, and will then continue to set up roadblocks to make it not fun anymore to go to the horse. And that's the change in heart rate, that's the change in breathing, that's the crummy stomach, that's the butterflies in the stomach, that's the thoughts of avoidance, that's the sweaty hands, whatever reactions you have. So a lot of my students actually start out with releasing thresholds when it comes to leaving the house, going down to the barn, or leaving the house, going to the car to drive to the barn. It is really, really important to look for those mini and micro thresholds in yourself as well as for your horse. And if you're not doing it for yourself, then hopefully you will be doing it for your horse, because you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot fake it till you make it with your horse. Your horse will notice the butterflies, the change of breathing, the change of heart rate, the thoughts of avoidance, that you're not present, that you're not mindful, that you're not consciously participating, that you are not the lead. And then we're going in a downward spiral, and we're taking our horse with us. So when we're looking at those 5 areas of confidence as a homework, what I would like you to do is, I would like you to grab, either take a whole journal, right, and dedicate that for you and your horse and your genuine connections horsewomanship journey, and you put the 5 areas on this piece of paper or in your notebook. So that is the environment, that is your horse's connection to the herd. Is your horse herd bound, body sour, body sweeter, sweet? At what level? Really write down what is happening. When you write down things in the environment that your horse is not comfortable with, make sure you write everything down, right? Make a column of environment. This is where my horse is confident, and this is where my horse is not confident yet. Take all the big things, do all the small things, everything you can think of. Then the same thing with a herd, right? When is my horse more herd bound? When can my horse interact with me? Is it during certain times? Is it worse during feeding times? Is it better when you're at home? Is it worse when you're at a clinic? You want to have a really, really clear understanding. So in the environment, in your horse, when it comes to the connection with the herd, then as a learner, what do you see in your horse when you're doing new things? What do you see in your horse when you are in a new environment? What do you see is working and what is not working? Be very specific Write that all down. The next thing is your horse's personality. What do you see in your horse? Is your horse more confident or less confident? When is your horse more confident? When is your horse less confident? Do you feel your horse is more extroverted or more introverted? And when do you maybe feel that your personalities clash, right? I literally had a student that came in my program and she said, my horse and me, we are fighting like cats and dogs. If you know my cats and dogs, they don't fight, they love each other, right? But this is very much cats and dogs, right? And why was that the case? It was because she had a very dominant mare, and her personality was that of being more self-confident, more dominant, and so they were literally headbutting. So the horse saw her as dominant and started to argue. Then the human says, how dare you? Don't do that. And she started to argue, and there was constantly just an unpleasantness, and not safe and dangerous, and guess what? No fun, right? So really important that we know that. And then last but not least, think about of, are you currently more a dominant leader? Are you currently using a pressure control model? Are you usually currently using treats? How are you interacting with your horse? Is your horse happily and willingly following you? If so, when, and when not yet? So this is your homework, right? And if you would like to continue with the next webinar, let me know in the comment section here. Simply, what do we call it? We call it the Confidence Series. If you want to be part of the Confidence Series, I need minimum 10 students that commit to do that with me. That means we're going to meet 4 more times. That means you're going to get the recordings of each of the session. That means you will be able to ask questions. That means I will create a workbook for you. And that means that you can send me a 10-minute video, and I will go through the video and I will make a voiceover particularly for you and your horse in response to all the things that you've learned in the series. So you know, okay, these are the steps that we learned, and this is how I need to apply this for myself and my horse. And you will get that also as a permanent recording. And all of it is just $97. Just to give you an idea, if I usually do those personal one-on-one sessions, I charge $297, and I barely ever do them because I don't have time. But this week, I've made the commitment to do this, and it's totally selfish because it will help me to write my book. So when my book is ready, anybody that jumps in the webinar series and puts what did we say, confidence series in the comment section, and I get 10 people that commit to it, then you will also get my book when it's done for free. So it's an awesome deal. You help me, I help you. We have a lot of fun together, and there will be tons of progress and growth resulting from this webinar series, and a detailed roadmap for you and your horse. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope the technical part all worked out. If not, then I'll just do another one of these and we get the kinks out. Hopefully it worked out the first time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As I always say in my mentorship group meetings, be blessed, be blessed, and with lots of love, because love makes everything better, including our horsewomanship. Bye now. Have a good night. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me.